Okay, I make it 10 o'clock. So if you want to start.
Yeah, ready whenever you are.
Okay, and welcome to What's Going On with myself, Arcturus, and Sebastian Keynes.
Hello, everybody. This is going to be the initial episode. What we hope to be is a long-term series where we discuss topics that are currently being talked about in the game. And if you have any input that you want to add to this, we invite you to join our Discord with the invitation Dragon Slayers. And there's a thread specifically where we ask people and their opinions of current things that are going on in the game and what needs to be addressed so we can have a much healthier game in the future. So to start things out, we are going to ask Arturo, what's going on? What is new? What
Right,
Let's start with
well,
the forerunners.
so what we've got on Forerunners at the moment is currently this thing called a Demon Crusade. So we have three new heroes being released, and they're being released through a challenge mode where we have six basic challenges, each getting progressively harder. They introduce some new strategies. So, for example, we have um, some bomb traps that we need to take care of. So, for example, in this stage right here, we have bomb traps, we've got high damage enemies, and multipathing, which is really promising for what we think they could bring to Guild with Guild going forwards. So, we know that Guild for Guild is pretty stale right now, and this should hopefully be able to bring some freshness to the game and help mix things up and make it a bit more challenging. Especially if we've had two seasons now where there's not really been much differences. Everything's been quite samey. So if we can bring in some new challenges, then that would be really positive. Um, Obviously, we on global, we've just had the Magnus banner. He's been doing pretty well for me actually in single target arena. I've found him to be pretty reliable when paired with nightmare fighters and other players who can apply some serious physical damage. And he's been managed to get my single target arena team to hold in Platinum 3 rather than dropping like a stone, which is what happened last week in my previous setup. Um, so other than that, we've got what is going on in the game? We've had
So the only thing that I have to add to the Demon Crusade there. So you're showing the challenge stages, right? So if we
yeah,
go to the main stages, we're when this opens up, my only advice is going to be to everybody is that you want to push the main stages as soon as possible to get to the end, because you want to beat normal mode and then you want to the next day go to hard, and or does it go easy, normal, hard, nightmare? There are four
uh,
different categories there,
yeah,
the very
uh,
last one,
yeah.
right?
Sorry.
So, and you want to farm Nightmare because that is where the only stage where is dropping the legendary pieces, shards for this new Demon Soldier, the Fool.
Yeah. So I'll just go to the demon page, the demons tab, and show you these guys. So obviously, we just talked about the fool. So this guy is a shielding unit. He throws out a single shield. He's 5+ unit, single deployment. He throws out a single shield onto an ally unit, and that makes them immune to control effects, which could have some utility. But personally, in the map that we had to play with him, and the fact that we couldn't affiliate any units, I just found him to be a bit squishy and unreliable to really help me progress. I think he's one of these ones who's going to develop over time, but at the moment, the only place we can get him is within the Demon Soldier maps. The other two, I think, are slightly more interesting. So we've got this guy called the Scaleskin Warrior. He speeds up his allies. Um, he provides a massive speed boost. So something like the Uncommon Destroyer, which takes forever to get across the map, you can have sprinting towards the enemy front lines to apply the damage down. And
And
we'll
if you thought we had a bomb meta right now, holy crap, this guy just makes it worse.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to. You're not going to worry about those guys in the middle slowing down the bombs. They're just going to sprint straight through them. And finally, we have a guy called Ardag's Follower. And this guy is specialist at bringing down tanky units like shields, shielding tanks, and immortal tanks. So what he does is he provides additional damage to targets, of which to allies. So allies provide additional damage to targets, and it basically brings down their health a lot faster, so you're able to smash through the defenders a lot more easily with them. Now, if you can couple that together
Yeah, that's
with,
the idea behind it.
if you can get like that coupled with the speedsters, then suddenly you've got something slow and chunky walking towards the wall, and all of a sudden you've got this guy charging up the field, where you've got your, I don't know, for example, your Knight of Destruction pounding gently on a tank, and he's not making a lot of headway. This guy turns up, hits him once, and all of a sudden he's doing bonus damage, and he's just tearing through this defender unit. So he looks quite fun to play with. So looking forward to seeing him. But in terms of shield, in terms of shards, you can probably see there from my demons tab that I'm two days away from getting the Scale Skin Warrior. I'm 3 days away from getting the Ardex Follower, and I'm yet another 4 days away from getting access to the Fool. So it's going to be middle towards the end of next week when people really start getting to play with these guys and seeing how they come out. But it could be interesting. So not this week, but next week should be interesting in terms of guild for guild and a bit of variety.
And that's pretty much it right now, right? Just the Demon Crusade is the big one, the Forerunners server, and in the
Yeah,
global server,
Rourke.
the public server, we had the Furious Torrent finally released, so people are taking a crack at that.
Yeah, sorry, I was just to scale back to things which are going on forums. If you weren't aware, you've just had the Abizu fusion on global. The on Forerunners, we've had this guy called Rourke. He's a new northern leader. He throws out shields to his allies. So if you drop him in front of Ardia, then he's going to keep her alive with shields for really effectively. And in fact, you could go Elder, Rourke, Ardia, and you, because he's got two range target, you've got a massive wall of damage coming out and shields all round and boosting damage when shielded. He could be really really effective even with Elder in the team.
He's a very interesting character, at least with my initial tryouts, and I only have him at base. He certainly looks strong. So I'm gonna try to see if I can invest some Solstice in him and see how well he can perform in
Oh,
the later stage.
I've managed to get him hitting about 200k
I
with some
figured
big hits. Yeah,
you just stack the HP on him and he'll just go off.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, he didn't do as well as Estrid in the artifact material raid, but overall, she's applying defense down where he isn't. So he's going to have a better better output.
Perfect, perfect. All right, so let's move up to the primary topic that we came to discuss here in this episode, and that is PvP, War PvP. So let's start with Arena. So I'm gonna open it up, and then you can list the other features that the players are hoping to look for. But I wanted to open it up with number one, good job on kind of adjusting Plat 3. Things have kind of normalized now. There is a little bit of challenge, but we're not seeing the point deflation that we were seeing for that first 3 weeks that this thing was applied on my stand. So that was good job number one. And then number two though is that one of the features that I would like to see added to this is hopefully soon is to add the gear lock like we have in GVG, where we can freely move our gear around without having to worry to get hit too much on arena.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, another thing, one of the things that I've not been able to do very much of since it arrived on Forerunners is the new um, gear dungeon, which is really quite challenging. And all of my best gear is kind of locked to my arena defense teams. So I've kind of have seen it. I've wanted to play with it, but I'm worried that if I pull it off, that I'm going to start dropping like a stone. Thankfully, once you get to Overlord, because you're shielded by people can't see your BP, you're actually got more chance of taking your gear off to go and play because they just look at your lineup and go, "Yeah, I don't like the look of that," and move on. So you've got more chance of doing some other things with gear. So I've been able to pull back some of my gear to try and push in some other areas of the game in the last couple of days.
Yeah, because that's one of the problems that I have is I change the gear and then I forget to put it back, and then when I come back, I have 20 tokens given to me, but that's represents how many times I got hit. So it's not a good look sometimes. But yeah, so that's one feature. I don't know what else did the community brought up as to what they would like to see in arena change.
I think it was just like the fact that the maps are quite stale. Now we've had this sort of defense team map for quite a long time now. We've had these basic chaotic season map where we've got a number of spawn points. We've got and the top corner ones. We've got basically it's just a big case of who can get their units down the fastest and who can smash the enemies more effectively than everyone else. And we just want a bit of variety. That was the main thing. That
Right.
one comment that keeps coming up is, can we get some faction bonus or unit bonus to try and mix things up a bit? So have a Watchers week, or you can't use any mages week. So yeah, things like that.
Yeah, and of course with the new map outline or layout, have different entry points, so you're not able to like, stack units on the one entry point that is available in the map. There were discussions about, uh, yeah, just like adding a little bit of variety weekly or bi-weekly, just to make sure that we're not doing the same mundane thing over and over again. And
Yeah,
for some of us that, you and Forerunners and then myself in Global, we can get to Overlord, but then once we're in Overlord, we're seeing the same teams, right? So either Arbiter base or Chaotic base or some strong Nightmare team that they were able to put together
yeah,
based on the unit that they have, right?
yeah, and I think that it's been pretty much the chaotic. It's defined. It's been called the chaotic season since September last year, and it'd be really good if they were able to spread this out or mix it up and change this map so we've got something more interesting going on.
Yeah, and we've been in beta. They keep labeling us beta, and then it's like it's been beta for a year. What are we talking about here? Something has to change soon. I mean, you've
Yeah,
gotten enough testing done, right? So most of the heroes now are introduced in the global of the good ones. So I think that they have enough data points to say, yeah, this is being dominated by just a particular set of heroes. It's time to change things up a little bit.
yeah, it'd be really good if they could make it more exciting for people, and gear lock would definitely be a useful feature for everybody. But I think the key thing there is you get to choose when you lock your gear, and it's not like a reset on a Monday, because then you're in the same problem, just uh, delaying it slightly. So
Right, right, right. So the only other thing that I remember seeing possibly it was the changes to the arena or changes to the arena shop, where things are not locked out based on tiers, maybe adding some other rewards in there to use the tokens in, maybe cycling the artifacts, little things like that is other tidbits that I do remember seeing as well. So
Yeah, I mean,
anything.
the one thing that definitely came up was that if they were going to restrict the way that Overlord was, how many people were getting into Overlord, that you could open up the shop to make it more fair for everybody, so that they've got the opportunity to get these things if and spend their arena coins on them.
Correct. But I do think that there's a little bit of an opportunity there to possibly other things that people could use to make them want to do this content. To come in and do, 5 battles a day, or just to try to make this thing worthwhile. Because at this time, I don't think that it's really worthwhile to just wait a month for possibly one legendary crystal if you're not in
Yeah.
Overlord. And then if you are in Overlord, well, then you rip the benefits of divine crystal and some ancient shard or ancient crystals as well. So um, I don't know. To me, it just feels like it needs to something needs to be added to it.
Yeah,
Maybe
definitely.
special gear, something. Just make us wanna you do this thing.
Actually, maybe that's the one of the things that we're going to see the benefits of the variant gear. Now, the trouble with the variant gear is that it's so difficult to obtain it, and people would
Right now
be
it is.
coming out of the gear dungeon saying that they've done their 150 runs at whatever level they can get to, and they're not getting any variant gear. Now, that's slightly problematic, and it's going to tip the balance of the game. Um, but not necessarily in the right way, because you've got your big spenders who are then not feeling that they're getting rewarded because they because they've got other people who've managed to luck out on grabbing the variant gear who can beat
Right.
them.
But they did open that up, right? Now that we can farm the keys in 1, 2, 3. So if you want to purchase the stamina, invest all your diamonds on farming those gears, hopefully you get, 5 drops a day. Maybe you can go run it. But yeah, when I forge in there, it's not good. It sometimes I don't get anything out of it. So
Yeah, and
it can be
actually,
disheartening if you put that together, right?
and that's definitely something to still pick up on is the fact that the gear forging is still a mess, and they've
That's right.
they've managed to screw it up so that Hell's Lament, which is this crit damage set, is working like a defender set. And I've certainly found that on the sets which I've had um, on the other side, in the three-piece sets, they've not been spectacular. And they've now introduced 6 new sets and not increased the gear uh, capacity. And that just makes gear management even harder.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so that be could be a topic for another day. But yeah, essentially is that they're giving us new gear to possibly do this content, but it's not. Yeah, you're right. Space is going to be a problem later on once people start accumulating a lot of good pieces or pieces that they prefer to keep. So we'll see. We'll see how they address that. Hopefully, they do increase it a little bit more. Um, I don't keep as much. I think I'm a 900 on my global account, so it's. I'm very picky about the gear that I keep, so I'm not seeing the strain yet. But I do imagine that once I start keeping some of those pieces, I'm gonna start seeing the crunch again.
So I think what you're telling me is I need to clear out more of my gear.
It all depends, right? What is it that you want to keep? What do you see yourself using most? I mean, from other games I used to play, yeah, it was the same way. It's like just very specific pieces at the end game level that I would keep. There would be not too much for that I junk that I would keep around per se.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, anything else regarding Arena? Do we move to GBG?
I think we move on.
Anything
Yeah.
from Okay, so if there's nothing in chat regarding Arena, that's pretty much what we would suggest. That hopefully these type of changes could boost the content a little bit. So now let's go to Guild versus Guild. I think that the same thing is kind of the same type of things in terms of suggestions that we're seeing. So let's start with the first one, which is the most obvious ones. Where are the new maps? I mean, we've seen them in Demon Crusade. I think you can pop a couple of those into the rotation here soon.
Yeah, no, that would be really cool. I mean, if we get some multi-path maps going on, in that would make it really exciting for the player base because then you've got the decision of do you try and sneak around the back, but there's going to be some disadvantages to that, or from the defender side, do you defend, try and defend both sides the same, or do you just go, do you know what, I'm just going to focus on this channel and have some secondary units on that, but they're not going to be as strong. And maybe that means you need to add more units. So again, in the Demon Crusade, you were often up against teams which had 10 defenders. So
Right.
if we need to extend the number of defenders, then that's something which I think could be looked at to try and make it a bit more exciting and bring some more variety to it. Because certainly those Demon Challenge maps, they definitely make you think a bit more from the attacking perspective. Still, I mean, if you're like running your 190k plus more units, then you're going to be able to storm through most things that come up against. But it, it's going to be hopefully add a bit more variety to the gameplay.
Yeah, especially in the large garrisons, also they need a little bit of change instead of being the same one. The one thing that I do like at the demonic crusade maps, though, besides the multipathing, I like the idea of those powder kegs. So you either, if you want to protect one particular side, you have to protect it with the idea that if the enemy is able to get those powder kegs to go off, you're going to lose three or four of your heroes that you place on those platforms. And the other one was that with the idea of the multipathing, though, that there were exposure points to each one of the heroes. Right, they could not cover everything unless
Yeah,
it's a unit that is multi-directional. Right, so we had that one particular stage where Anai and Twinfin were strong in that one direction, but coming in from the other one, they couldn't do anything. So
yeah,
just little
absolutely.
things like that, right? To strategize with the demon soldiers that you do have.
Yeah, let me just see if I can pull that stage up so that people can see what we're actually talking about. So just 1 second. I think it's 5 or 6. I think
I think it
no,
was six. That's the one that was giving people some challenge. And so
six.
if you don't,
Yeah,
yeah. So you're coming in from the left side. Now you have a better shot at them, but you have to take those three units that are in front of them. But if you come in from the right side, those two units are really strong. There's no way really to get past them when you need to get to the core.
yeah, and I have to say one of the things that we encountered in the Demon Challenge was that Azor build that we want, devs. Please make us our Azor be like the Azor in the Demon Challenges,
Okay,
because he was
so that's
godly.
stage five.
Yeah,
You guys, you do not know. It was one of the first things that I thought of is I gotta take that Oscar down, and then I find out no, that that is not possible. You're gonna have to come up with a different strategy because I have never seen a tanky Oscar in this game as tanky as that one was.
yeah. I mean, we've seen some good death scaling defenders now. I mean, we've got Trusk in game, we've got
Yes,
Garn in game, and they show the how it works well. And Crotter's like starting to prove his worth as well. So he just needs that increase in base HP and tweaks to some of his multipliers, but he's got the foundation of a kit there. And for the love of God, if you're revisiting Azor, please, please, please move his heated state further up the awakened list because it makes him so difficult to use unless we get him A5, and because you're just nerfing him completely when that ultimate ends.
So going back to the guild versus guild, so besides the new maps and the designs that we're hopefully can look forward to in the future, what did you think about the week off? I welcome it, and I actually preferred if they would do it, with more intervals. It kind of relieved a little bit of the stress on the game, right? When you have to worry about doing 8 attacks every 2 days. Were you a fan of it?
From a guild leader perspective, I actually found it really frustrating because the game locked into calculation stage. So I've not been able to do any like proper management and move people around. I've just been stuck in this calculation bit, and I can't do anything to let people out. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to solve that going forwards. And the devs have acknowledged that it's an issue, but I've not
Right.
seen it anywhere in their like forthcoming patch notes. But yeah, definitely the week off was good, and certainly observing the Discord from for the DS1 community that they were starting to feel quite worn out by the end of the 8 week season.
Yeah, it is, especially yes, if you're in a competitive, yes. You and I being in the Forerunner guild that we're in, it doesn't feel that strenuous as it is for me on global. But just the fact of just having that, week, maybe every 4 weeks, and you don't have to worry about it. You can actually like, concentrate on other areas of the game, right? And I know that there are instances where if you see that time, like 2 hours before the matchmaking system kicks in, you have to make sure everybody's geared, and then you can't touch it because
Yeah,
otherwise, somebody's getting a free win on you, right? So all those little things come into play because you gotta really plan your game activity based on when that is happening.
yeah. I mean, I have to say the worst part for me of Guild v Guild is that hour or so before reset where I've had to pull all my gear off my arena team just so I can set my Guild v Guild defenses.
Yep. Yep. And that's the strain. That's some of the strain that goes into that as well. So besides, okay, so calculation phase, lockouts, and the strain of GBG on the game. The only other thing that I possibly saw that people would prefer that Moonton addresses is the matchmaking system right now, because it's really a hot mess. And as we can see also on the top, it can be manipulated. So, do you want to give them a brief overview of how we think the matchmaking system is actually working here right now?
Yeah, so it seems to be going sort of next person down in the list is who you're pretty much up against, and
Yeah, exactly. One,
certainly,
two, three, four. Yeah.
yeah, which is a really basic way of doing it. Now, can I get into the guild rankings? But
No,
no,
not right now.
no,
You should be able to, I believe, in the ranking reward
yeah, there
like
we go,
tab.
leaderboard.
So,
So,
right. So from
but
here, we can kind of anticipate who we're going to face, right?
absolutely. So we know roughly where we are and at the moment. So we're on about. So this is my DS3 guild on the Forerunners server. We're sort of around 12th on the board at the moment. So we're just so that suggests that we would be dropping into Overlord at the end of the match. Um, uh, and then we would probably be up against our top masters again, who we face lots. Because they're normally who we end up facing. Legend, we've come across a couple of times. But my big issue with how it's currently running is this normalization of the points at the end of the season. Because as you can see here, Phoenix and Mad on Global have these massive
Yes.
point leads that you
Correct.
are unattainable by anybody. So even if Darkside number one won all of their matches, which they won't because they'll be up against Phoenix, then
Right.
they're never going to close that gap of 300 plus points when you can only win 20 points
It
for a
would
match.
it would take 2 to 3 seasons for them to catch up, theoretically, right? Let's say the dark side just gets better than Phoenix, and they consistently beat them. There's no way they'll catch up to Phoenix. And then the other thing is, if that were to also happen, is that the matchmaking system would just perennially match those two over and over and over again because they would be 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. So there would be no rotation there. And so for us, later on in the season, in season two, right as we started going into the tail end,
Mm.
the thing had normalized so much that we started facing the same guilds over and over and over again. And I
Yeah.
think that that is also happening in global, where the normalization happens, right? That the good guilds start moving up, then there's that separation of the weaker ones going down. So in the top 10, 20, you could just perennially see the same matchups every 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, and it's really tiring for everybody because you end up with this effectively the same results unless you've had some miracle turnaround. That
Right.
you log in and you say, "Oh God, it's Legion again," and we know that we never beat Legion, so you just your guild lose the motivation to try and do anything. Whereas the guys who are on on global, I mean, especially if you're in the top 10 and you see you're up against Mad, then it's just like, okay, let's just see, try and do something against those defenses. So it's problematic. It needs to be mixed up, maybe a bit more like a football league where you can it's the points awarded are smaller and there's different statistics that you can measure performance on, sort of number of battles played, number of towers held, number of yeah. I'm no real sports fan, but I mean there are things that you could do to the leaderboard to make it show the performance without putting a massive point barrier between everybody. And
So that has been part of the suggestions that I made, is that, you have to code it in so the same two guilds cannot face each other, for example, twice, more than twice in a season. I think that that is reasonable to just at least face them twice, right? And
yeah,
then, after that, they can have like a null setting where it says, no, it's been more than twice, we go on to the next. And so it moves on like that. And I know it can happen because I used to play another game that did that when it came to their clan v clan matches. Because once you faced that clan, you were guaranteed that you were not going to see them again for the next three matches. So I know that that can be done. So there's nothing. Montan can't say no, that's not possible. It is possible. So there's just something to do in the coding with that regard. And then I think that also like you're illustrating right now, and the leaderboard here, I think that the rewards could actually also be better for the effort that they're asking you to put in on a season of 8 weeks long, and then try
yeah.
to get as high as these ranks, right? So I mean,
It's all
an
about the
overlord,
badge, man. It's all about the badge.
it's all about the badges, right? That's pretty much it. It's just the avatar of the badge, and okay, fine. Some
I,
people really care about that stuff, but I would rather get more rewards out of it. Maybe get, uh, you know, 5 to 8 ancients or something better than what they're showing there. So
yeah, I mean, I guess
more
that
soldier fragments too. That would help. Jesus.
yeah, soldier fragments would, especially at higher levels, are really problematic. I mean, even like level four plus, and you're over looking at 240 shards to start leveling up your heroes, and God knows what it's like when you get to like level 8 or 9.
Oh, and by the way, here, this is Sebastian putting the thing foil cap on. So be warning, conspiracy theories now going on. I swear that when they first released the content, the Demon Soldier drops were a lot better than they are now. And I think that they really slowed them down. They've decreases the rate significantly because they started seeing the power creep so fast with this Demon Soldiers, especially once you get them to level 5. And so the top kills that were just persistently farming this stuff, they just went and picked up right away, right? and then said, well,
Yeah.
okay, we got to slow this down a little bit because otherwise we're gonna have to start nerfing stuff that we don't want to nerf.
Well, you could see that with what happened with more the captain unit more, and they
Oh man, that
moved him from normal damage to upgrade him to deliver true damage. But I mean, I've never seen a unit with 170k BP hit like wet tissue paper before, and it's just
exactly.
yeah,
And I have a hard time telling the person that is trying to push to 50K on Gilbus number 4 because they want Ma. I don't have the heart to tell them I never used the guy because he's not bad. Yeah, they need to change that demon soldier because the effort that you have to go through to get him, and then the fragments for him don't drop, and it's just it's really, okay, here's a shiny demon soldier you can flex, but that's it. That's all he's good for right now.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you've got like your um, A5 Lord unit and you can stick it on him with all ancient gear, then yeah, absolutely, you're going to be able to make use
Oh,
of him. But other than that,
possibly.
he's just embarrassing, and he gets melted by Ardia, he gets melted by Silas, and it's just like, why did I bother bringing this effectively 12 cost unit? Because you always have to deploy him with at least one healer to try and to try and do something, and then just have him unleash his ultimate and do no damage. It's horrendous.
And at the moment, you cannot even practice with him. You cannot really test him out because if you use him on a friendly, you use the turn. You can only use him 3 times in a week or during the round. And if you use him in a friendly, it counts as one. So then you can use them for for subsequent battles in the actual guild war. So yeah, they got to tweak that a little bit too. So
Yeah.
that's just a warning to everybody: don't use them unfriendly or it counts against you.
Hi, Andrew. Thanks for joining us. I mean, that moves us nicely into the next topic, which
Go
is
for
the
it.
friendly fights during war, and we've seen it in the top guilds where they are basically using their broad rosters to use the lineups of the opposition, and then they just practice it between themselves until they get it perfect, and then they just blitzkrieg the opposition with very few losses.
Exactly. So if you're an organized guild that have all 30 members just practicing at will, you're going to do very well, and that goes into the time requirement that you need as well. So the top guilds are always going to benefit from something like that because they have all the units, right? Not everybody in Plat 3 has the Pope or has Lugaru or has Sargak, for example. So you know yeah, I think that is one of the things is that friendlies are great during the preparation phase or even the calculation phase, but they have to be turned off when the match is actually going on.
Yeah. Okay. That's. I know it's been suggested several
And
times actually. So
yes, yeah,
it's one that really is pretty easy to implement from the dev side. So please, please.
yes, it should be. Yeah, it should be. So it should be a feature that they can lock out, just like they do anything else in game too. That just has a timer and then
Yeah,
it goes off. And
absolutely.
I think that can definitely be uh, definitely be coded into without any problems. So aside from all the other stuff that we covered, is there anything else that the community brought up in terms of the Gilbit Guild, or was it pretty much just time, maps, matchmaking,
No,
calculation phase lockouts right now?
no, that was definitely what we were the most common topics that came up.
All right, perfect. Anything from the YouTube chat? Is there anything else that has been brought up?
Nothing from chat. We've just
Okay.
it's chat's pretty quiet.
So so that pretty much in terms of the PvP, that's pretty much what we wanted to discuss today. Next week, what are we looking at? Just as a brief hint here.
What else? Topics which have been mentioned are things like the shard shop and the quality of the stuff in there, and the hero pool. And a lot of people have been talking about that on other channels and the impact
Yeah,
of
exactly.
more new units coming to the game.
So we'll bring that up a little bit more in detail next week. Today, or just this has actually been a topic that apparently blew up this week. Some people were complaining about it, especially with the introduction of Magnus. Now, Magnus is not a bad unit. Actually, I think people that do get him will find utility for him. But I just think that people are getting frustrated with all these units coming. So, number one, this has been live in the Forerunner for a while, so we kind of felt it, and we knew it was going to come into global. But aside from all those other units that have been leaked and that are coming in on both servers, do keep in mind that there are more units in the Forerunners that have not been released on global. So the hero pool will eventually dilute even further. The 15X is a good start, but I have other suggestions as to how we can further enhance this to make sure that people do get the heroes that the banners are offering for that particular week.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that was it. Other than a minor one about ratios of on iPads and iPhones, but as a as an Android user, it's not really something I could really talk about at great length.
We would have to, yeah, we're going to need to get some screenshots of that. So, but yeah, so if you have any other topics that you'd like us to discuss and bring forth to the forefront, and possibly invite some people over to discuss it with us, please come and join us on our Discord on the Dragon Slayers. Uh, and that's the invitation. Just to Dragon Slayers. You should be able to access it. There's a thread that we are carrying through. We peek at it and we take notes from that. And aside from that, that'll do it for this week, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching. And as always, please remember that here in the Dragon Slayers, we don't just play the game.
We slay.
Goodbye, everybody. See you next week.
Bye bye. And we're out.
Okay, perfect.